We for all we know, barnacles could be human because they are genetically engineered. The unknown artifacts, however, are completely different. Why, the Federation, basically, have you seen some of the messages that come from their convoys? They do not know what they are.
Why would some random trucker know exactly what he's carrying?
No, but he would be told, details about it,
Why?
Not necessarily.
If you're transporting highly classified material, you're not going to be told what it is. You're just going to be told, carry this from point A to point B, and don't look in the fucking.
The only reason he'd be told anything is if it had any effect on the way he trucked. If there was anything he needed to know about how he's supposed to handle his ship or not, then he'd be told.
Exactly,
he'd be told. He wouldn't be told necessarily even the whole thing. He'd just be say, "Don't handle your ship like this because it's going to have negative repercussions," and that's it. And then he'll either say, "Well, what is it?" And then they'll say, "Well, it's a need to know, and either you take this job or not," and then he'll make his decision. But really, there's no need to know on these things, especially if no one wants you to know.
Well, then. Well, I'm not really sure how you can say that they do know something.
No, that's not the point. The point is you're making a conclusion based on lack of evidence. That's not the right thing to do.
No, but I'm making a conclusion based on the only evidence we've got, which is that people.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to make a conclusion based on that unless.
We can't make a definite conclusion. We can make a conclusion based on the evidence
Well, why?
we have currently. It's not necessarily the right one, but it's all we can do.
So you can make an assumption.
Yeah.
It's a shot in the dark.
Yeah, maybe an assumption's a better word for what you'd want to call it than a conclusion.
It's
for all we know, the
terminology
reason
and semantics again.
For all we know, the reason that there's a Farragut parked above one of the whatchamacallings is because the Federation doesn't want it destroyed, because it's one of their more successful devices that they've made.
Well, exactly. They definitely know something, but we just don't know what that is.
Yeah, but my point is, we don't know that it's an alien. We don't know that the artifact is an alien.
We can't really tell.
Yeah. So why are you saying that it's that it's extraterrestrial in origin?
It's a possibly extraterrestrial in origin.
But I mean, what do you walk up to everything that you don't understand and say this could be extraterrestrial in origin and think that's a reasonable statement to make?
Evidence to say that this may actually be extraterrestrial. It is an organic technology, unlike anything that humans have ever produced. I mean, for an organization to suddenly produce that level of technology with a completely undecipherable and yes, alien purpose that we don't even understand.
Well, now you're confusing alien. Now you're confusing two uses of the word alien. Alien purpose meaning a purpose you don't understand. It's a purpose that's foreign to you. Yes, but now you're conflating two meanings of the word alien and using it to make a conclusion. Just because it's foreign to your understanding doesn't mean it's foreign to Earth or foreign to humanity. That's two different things. There are people all around the world that make decisions and perform actions that are alien to your understanding, but that doesn't make them aliens. You're conflating two uses of the word.
It is the unknown artifacts, the unknown probes, are a technology like nobody has ever seen. What purpose would that have for a human to create?
What purpose does any technology have for a human to create?
It performs a function. This performs a function. We're not sure what that function is, but it does
right,
not
so just because, okay, someone created a technology, you don't understand its function, that's...
I'm not saying that makes it extraterrestrial. I'm saying, just look at the things.
Yeah, but I mean, one could just as soon bring someone who is from a farm all his life and bring him into a city and say, look at these things that drive around without horses, and say, look at these things, they're alien.
But that's a completely different scenario.
No, because you could take something that is far more alien but still here, which is pretty much anything that lives in say 6,000 meters below the surface of the oceans,
right?
And show that to people. That is fucking alien, but it's not extraterrestrial.
But the point is, there is nothing like that on Earth. Therefore, it is extraterrestrial.
That we know of.
That we know of, yes. I think the idea of jumping to conclusions is something that we're trying to dispel, and it's something that scientists usually try to avoid at all costs. Because once you jump to a conclusion, you start having selection bias in your experiments.
the point is that there is a general consensus at the moment that these things are possibly extraterrestrial.
Well,
we
just
have simply no other choice based on the available information.
Well, maybe a lot of people are stupid. 21,900, 5,000.
I'll try not to take that, but you know, there does.
I don't
seem
mean
to
that
be-
personally. I mean in general,
No,
like
I know.
just
I'm
because
saying there does seem to be a bit of bias coming from your direction.
a bias? No, I'm just trying to. I think Vectron and I are trying to dispel your bias.
I don't have a bias. My bias is
Yeah,
purely based on the evidence.
Wait, I don't have a bias. Wait, I don't have a bias. My bias is.
Bias is that these are extraterrestrial artifacts, but we don't know if they
No,
are
I'm
not made by
saying
some kind of fourth
I'm
party.
saying there's a possibility that they could be.
You
No,
started
all
out
our
by
options
saying
are
they
still
were.
open.
You started out by saying they were. That was the issue. Not that they possibly were, because
Well,
yeah,
I
they
never
could
meant to say
possibly
they
be.
were. I was trying to say that, you know, it's possible that they are.
Well, that
Every
you got.
option is
You got.
still
The
open.
thing is here's the thing. It may be a semantic argument, but there actually is a
It is.
truth in this. That if you start
It's right.
accidentally misusing your words, and you start saying it is or this is our conclusion, you start putting yourself in a thought train that tunnel visions yourself into a specific
I'm well aware
conclusion.
how psychology works.
Okay.
I did study psychology for 2 years at GCSE level.
Okay. Well, then you should know and be well aware of the issues with
I am.
putting
It's
yourself
just
in a
they don't
bias.
seem to be relevant at this point.
They seem to be quite relevant to this conversation. Anyway, 984. Here we go. Let's hope for a good roll or a good route.
We are also in situations where we will see things that we have somehow invented and think,
And we all
like,
have
that's not
preconceptions.
possible,
and,
something
you know,
that
yes.
humans could possibly do. I mean, look at the number of people who seriously believe that that it was impossible for humans to have constructed things like Stonehenge or the pyramids.
Yeah, exactly.
And that kind of a view also means that you are immensely underestimating what human beings are capable of doing. Now, I will grant that there is a problem in calling something extra, in saying that it has to be extraterrestrial just because it's not from Earth, but more because, well, yeah, that's what it actually means. But the game takes place in the 3200s, I think. And that means
3300s.
34th century, 3300s. Yeah.
34th century, where, well, yes,
Well,
you know.
yeah. But so the idea that it has to be alien, yeah, that's more or less likely, given that it looks rather weird and it doesn't look like any form of biology we've seen before. And also, well, I mean, there are quite a lot of places that we know that life exists. That much we know for certain. So it's probable that it's of non-human origin. But if it is, as the claim seems to be, genetically manipulated, we only know
Well,
two intelligent
that claim only applies to the barnacles. David Brown himself.
and the barnacles right now, yeah.
Yes.
But we only know two intelligent species, and that is humans, and it is
Well,
Thargoids.
no, actually, we know of.
No, there is a third. The
We
one
know
on
of
the
several-
home planet of the Empire.
That are still alive. No, there's a difference between sentient and
No,
intelligent.
that still exist. Yes, there are at least three. There are at least 4 groups that still exist. Bearing in mind that 3 of those groups are the same species. They're simply different.
Okay, so that's humans, and Thargoids.
No, there are the humans, the Thargoids, the Eresrians, and the Klaxians. Eresrians and Klaxians are simply an offshoot of the Thargoids. They are completely separate groups, however. There are, I think at one point it was confirmed that they were going to make an appearance at some point. But the Thargoids, they're sort of the benevolent versions of the Thargoids. The Thargoids is the
Then
name for
we're
the species.
Then we're still back down to only having 2 because they're the same thing.
Yeah, you know what I
saying
mean.
there are
It's all
4
down to
species.
ideological
Yeah,
difference among the, but they
yeah,
are
but
they are
it's a bit like
they're almost
because
not
we have
Thargoid.
Americans, Europeans, Russians, and
But
Asians.
no,
Wait,
you don't understand the fact that they have evolved separately from the Thargoids. They are a slightly different species due to the way they've evolved and the conditions in which they did evolve.
But
Well,
that's also
so
true
has
for people-
everyone
for people
else.
who- yeah,
Have you seen the presser in Aliath?
I mean, every place that has humans living on the surface planet, even in space, are slightly different
No,
because of genetic selection
I'm
pressure.
referring in the biological sense rather than purely the ideological sense.
Yeah, but that's also the case here because if you're living on the surface
But
of
then
a
again,
high
it's
pressure,
semantics.
no, because if you're living on Alias and you've been living there since 2600, that's 700 years of selection pressures that requires the
But of
biology to
course,
be able
because
to
natural selection would
lay down
affect
reproduce.
humans still, of course.
Whereas if you compare that to people who
But
have
it
spent the
actually
last
it
700
doesn't
years
really.
living in a 0.1 G environment, will have different selection pressures. So they will be biologically
That's not
different.
necessarily true. The selection pressures only happen if it prevents reproduction, and just because you don't perform well or because you live less doesn't
Yeah, natural
actually
selection
mean that
wouldn't
you
necessarily
won't.
affect you in that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's not
It
selection of the fittest, it's selection of the good enough.
Yeah,
well,
but if
yeah.
humans can survive, if humans chose to live there, chances are they can survive there anyway if they had a choice. So they
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Even
None
if
of
they
them would
didn't
be killed
survive
off, and their
well.
characteristics would be passed on
Yeah.
differently.
Even if they didn't survive well.
But hold on a second. I just have a quick question on the lore of Elite.
Yep.
The
Sure, go ahead.
Empire wasn't supposed to be the origin of the Empire on a planet where there was some sentient life, and the original Empire kinda genocide it.
I'm not actually. I think it's the other way round. That the Empire settled on a planet, and something to do with the Federation or something wanted to wipe out the alien life, and the
No, they settled on Alioth, whatever number it was. It had life.
Ashinar.
Achenar.
That life got yeah, Econon. That life got wiped out.
Yes, but it
At
was
the end,
there.
the Federation decided to try to intervene and keep that life from getting wiped out, and that started the initial war that ended up founding the Empire.
Yeah, right. But then it means that there was another sentient life on another planet
Yes,
in the bubble.
but sentient is not the same as intelligent. For
Yeah.
all we know, right
Oh, okay,
now
right.
in our century, we have dolphins and pigs and dogs, cats, whatever, that are sentient. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will be intelligent to a level
Yes,
where they
and
can.
technologically advanced to make
No,
their own probes
actually,
and stuff like that.
that's incorrect. The definition of sentience is consciousness and self-awareness and sapience.
Yeah, but
That's what he just-
Yeah, but even
That's what he just said.
people to argue that dogs and cats are sentient.
They're not.
Some argue. I am not on their opinion, but I know that some
What?
people do
Clear?
argue.
No.
That's a
Clearly,
matter of opinion.
clearly, almost all the animals that were mentioned, definitely all are sentient under
But
basically
that's-
any
the
reasonable
No,
definition.
requires consciousness and self-awareness.
They have consciousness and self-awareness.
So they have
I
self-awareness.
am
but
not of that opinion.
Yeah.
I am of the
Either
opinion
way.
of some other animals are sentient, but
Fair
cats
enough.
and dogs are not.
Let's use chimpanzees as an example. Do you agree that chimpanzees are sentient or not?
Yes, I do.
That's very difficult because they are literally 99% identical to us. They're just
Ah,
slightly
so
less
now
intelligent.
you have some bias because you know you got to be careful. They're
But-
close to us.
No, I go
But
from
they
the
are.
mirror
That's a
test.
scientific fact that 99%.
Yeah, but they don't have behavioral differences really from cats and dogs, to be honest.
But that's the
But
point.
Yes,
no,
they do.
that's
The
It's
not
all
mirror
about
what I
test.
was getting at.
I personally go from the mirror test. If they recognize themselves in a mirror, they are showing some kind of consciousness. And
But either
only
way,
a few other animals except humans do.
But to be honest, I don't think
my
it comes
point
down
about
to
my
whole
point about
genetics
the,
again. Because
no, it's not about genetics. It's
No, it
not
isn't,
about
because
genetics.
I mean,
no,
I'm
no, 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 no.
99%.
Let me finish my point. The reason I brought up the chimpanzee is that, by certain definition, chimpanzees are a spacefaring race. That does not make them an intelligent race that are capable of spacefaring or space travel. The only reason they went into space is because they were put into a rocket by humans. So we already have sentient. We have multiple sentient species on Earth, but only one of them is an actual space-capable race, and that's humans. So there's a massive difference between having sentience and the ability to end up in a technological place where you can do space travel. So, for example, we could have a situation where it turns out that the camel is the most intelligent of all creatures on the planet, but that the camels will never get anywhere because they do not have the ability to create tools. the way that we do.